Heinz Wilhelm Guderian was a German general during World War II. The innovator and advocate of the Blitzkrieg doctrine, was noted for his success as a commander of panzer units during the campaigns in Poland and France and for initial success in the Soviet Union. Guderian was born in Kulm, West Prussia, now Poland, the son of Friedrich Guderian and Clara Guderian. He entered the army in 1907. On October 1, 1913, he married Marguerite Goeren, with whom he had two sons, Heinz Gunther and Kurt. At the outset of World War I, Guderian served as a signals officer in the 5th Cavalry Division. On February 28, 1918, Guderian was appointed to the General Staff Corps. Like many Germans, he disagreed with Germany signing the armistice in 1918, believing the German Empire should have continued the fight. Early in 1919, Guderian was selected as one of the 4,000 officers to continue on in military service for the reduced-size German army, the Reichswehr. He was assigned to serve on the staff of the Central Command of the Eastern Frontier Guard Service. This Guard Service was intended to control and coordinate the independent Freikorps units in the defense of Germany's eastern frontiers against Polish and Soviet forces engaged in the Russian Civil War. In June 1919, Guderian joined the Iron Brigade, later known as the Iron Division, as its second general staff officer. The commanders of the regular German army had intended that this move would allow the army to reassert its control over the Iron Division. However, their hopes were disappointed. Rather than restrain the Freikorps, Guderian's anti-communism caused him to empathize with the Iron Division's efforts to defend Prussia against the Soviet threat. The Iron Division waged a ruthless campaign in Lithuania and pushed into Latvia. However, traditional German anti-Slavic attitudes prevented the division's full cooperation with the White Russian and Baltic forces opposing the Bolsheviks. Guderian was assigned as a company commander for the 10th Jaeger Battalion. Later he joined the Truppenamt, Troop Office, which was a clandestine form of the Army's General Staff which had been officially forbidden by the Treaty of Versailles. In 1927, Guderian was promoted to major and transferred to the command of Army Transport and Motorized Tactics in Berlin. This placed Guderian at the center of German development of armored forces. Guderian, who was fluent in both English and French, studied the works of British maneuver warfare theorists J.F.C. Fuller, Gifford Martel, and B.H. Liddell Hart. In 1931, he was promoted to Oberstleutnant, Lieutenant Colonel, and became Chief of Staff to the Inspectorate of Motorized Troops under Oswald Lutz. In 1933 he was promoted to Oberst or Colonel. Guderian wrote many papers on mechanized warfare during this period. These papers were based on extensive study of the lessons of the First World War, research on foreign literature on the use of armor, and wargaming done with dummy tanks and later with early armored vehicles. Some of these trial maneuvers were conducted in the Soviet Union. Britain at this time was experimenting with tanks under General Hobart, and Guderian kept abreast of Hobart's writings using, at his own expense, someone to translate all the articles being published in Britain. In October 1935 he was made commander of the newly created 2nd Panzer Division, one of three. On August 1, 1936 he was promoted to General Major, and on February 4, 1938 he was promoted to General Lieutenant and given command of the 16 Army Corps. In 1936, General Lutz asked Guderian to write a book on the developing Panzer arm and the theories that had been developed on its use in war. The resulting volume, Achtung, Panzer, was his most important work. It reviewed the state of armored development in the European nations and Soviet Russia, and presented Guderian's theories on the effective use of armored formations and combined arms warfare ideas of other general staff officers. The book included the importance of air power in support of the panzer units for future ground combat. Germany's panzer forces were created largely along the lines laid down by Guderian in his book. During the Second World War, Guderian commanded over panzer units in France, Poland, and the Soviet Union. His greatest achievement was the Battle of Smolensk, where he encircled and captured the city from the Soviets. After clashes about orders with Hitler himself and Günther von Kluge, he was relieved from duty and put into the reserve pool for the rest of the war. Guderian and his staff surrendered to U.S. forces on May 10, 1945. He remained as a prisoner of war in U.S. custody until his release on June 17, 1948. His conduct was investigated and no charges were brought. After the war he was often invited to attend meetings of British veterans groups, where he analyzed past battles with his old foes. During the early 1950s Guderian was among the military advisors who helped in the establishment of West Germany's military defense force, the Bundeswehr, which has gone on to be the military defense force of Germany today. Guderian died on May 14, 1954 at the age of 65, in Schwangau near Füssen in, southern Bavaria, and is buried at the Friedhof Hildesheimer Strasse in Goslar.